Welcome back to San Diego People. I'm Sandra Moss. Today we're focusing on the issues presented from prolonged cell phone and social media use and how it's affecting the self-image of young people entering the workforce. With me right now is Don Wells. He is Executive Director of Just in Time for Foster Youth. Welcome.
Thanks for having me here.
I think a lot of people don't know about Just in Time for Foster Youth, the group. Tell us about it.
Well, we've been around for about 14 years now, and it was started by a group of volunteers who knew that young people were leaving the foster care system at 18 without any sort of family support. And the first thing that happened was that we helped youth who were going into transitional housing, but they didn't have a bed to sleep on. You know, they didn't have furniture. And this was around the holidays, and that was the biggest thing. They had nobody who was there checking on them and saying, how you doing? How are things going to work? So Just in Time is there to fill in that gap. These young people don't have family support, so we become an extended family for them. We help them with resources, but almost more importantly, we help them with relationships. So they get connected to people who care about them and who are saying, how are you doing? I'm going to help you navigate this. You have an emergency, give me a call, we'll work through that.
What a great organization.
Yes.
You said the magic word, connecting, and that's kind of what we're talking about in a big way today when it comes to technology and social media. What it is that you have seen in your meetings and discussions and environment that you have with all of these young people and how they navigate social media today.
Well, one of the big things for foster youth is that they don't have those connections to get jobs. They don't have the parent who's going to help them get the entry-level job, or the uncle or the parent of a neighbor or whatever who's going to help them get those jobs. So they were going out and just putting their resumes on Craigslist to try to get a job. So we help them to get jobs and help them with a lot of preparation. So we do resume building, we do mock interviews, and one of the things we do is about building your personal brand, because that's what you're doing when you're going to get a job. You're saying, here's who I am, here's the story that I want you to know about me. And if you're going on social media, that's also, here's who I am, here's the story I want you to know about me. So we help them to see those two things are connected, because you really want to know, whenever you're telling a story, who's my audience? What's the first impression I want them to have of me? And then what's the story they're going to tell about me after I'm no longer there?
But the problem is, a lot of people have those ghosts, and they used to be in the closet.
Right.
But nowadays, they're not in the closet, because if you're on social media and 8 years ago on Facebook, you did some stupid things that you posted, your employer can potentially see all that.
Exactly. When we were growing up, you know, sometimes people would have diaries, but they wouldn't think of taking their diary. In fact, if anybody saw their diary, they were upset.
Mortified.
But now, the young people are laying their diaries out for everybody to see.
Why is that?
Well, I think it's a lot to do with young people are trying to figure out who they are, and they're sort of testing their identity. And in the world we're in now, image is very important. Everybody it's not so much identity. You're younger, you start out with image, and you're looking at people and you're looking at the different images, and your friends are dressing a certain way or going certain places or listening to certain music, and that becomes something that you test out. So what we have now are young people who are testing all that out in public. And you may have heard this thing about don't do anything that you don't want your mother to see in the newspaper. and these young people are actually self-publishing. So they're doing things and they're publishing it themselves so everybody can see it.
It's very powerful.
It is very powerful. And I think it was mentioned earlier that when young people are in their 20s, all the synapses have been come together so that they can see that if I do this, there's a consequence to it. So when you ask a young person, you know, why did you do that? They say, well, I don't know. And they really don't know. They don't know.
Well, I think it's very impressive that you're working so hard to help these young people foster their own personal brand or to publicize it out there. How can parents do the same to help their kids?
Well, again, parents are dealing with that whole thing of things are not quite connected, but you have to keep talking about it from that young person's perspective. So what we say is, okay, what do you want your story to be? And who are you telling that story to? And reminding them that you may be putting this on Facebook thinking that you're only doing it for your friends, but that's really not the audience. That audience are people you haven't met yet, and employers that you may be trying to get a job from. So it's a constant reminder. I have a young woman that I started mentoring when she was 8, and she's 26 now. And it's still, I have to keep reminding her. I go to her Facebook page at least once a week, and I call her up and say, hey, this thing you put on.
Gotta go.
At least take a look at it and decide whether that's really what you want the next employer to see. Mm-hmm. So it's coming at it from that standpoint of what do you want. Try to push them and push them away from it. You know, part of the thing is they want it to be private from you, but they're not making the connection that, okay, I don't want my mother to see it, but everybody else
in
is
the world.
Seeing it. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you know, working at Just in Time for Foster Youth, I'm sure over the last eight or so years that you have bonded closely with some of the young people. And I'm sure there are a lot of stories. Is there something in particular that sticks with you, a success story that we can kind of finish on?
Oh, there are so many. There's one young woman who was going to San Diego State, and in her first semester, she got on academic probation because she was overwhelmed. She went there, very smart, but she was one of those people who moved into the dorm but had no dorm supplies. Everybody else is getting their dorm supplies. You know, their families are there, and she's thinking, I don't even belong here. So she got overwhelmed. She got on academic probation. She came to work with us. We helped her get involved with a community, helped to get some other people involved. Now she's at Duke University in her master's program.
Wow.
So, and it was all there. I mean, when people come to us, sometimes they say, look how this person has changed when they were with Just in Time. And really, she was that person all along. She just didn't have the support to be that person. So that's all we do is help youth get to where they want to be.
Well, it's very inspiring. It's great to know. And for more information about Just in Time for Foster Youth, you can check out our website. We'll have a link on KUSI.com. Don Wells, Executive Director of that program. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate your expertise. That is going to do it this morning for San Diego people. Be sure and join us tonight for the KUSI.